In this lesson, you're going to learn how to simplify fractions. To simplify fractions, we need to know the greatest common factor. The greatest common factor is the largest number that can be divided out of two or more numbers. Let's review how you find the GCF, or greatest common factor. In a previous lesson, I taught you how to find the GCF using something called the cake method. So in the cake method, you write down both the numbers and you box them. Then you look and see, what can you divide out of 24 and 36? If you don't know what numbers you can divide out, you can always resort back to looking to see if you can divide a 2, 3, or 5 out. But if you can see a larger number can come out, go ahead and divide out that larger number. 24 and 36, a 4 can come out. 24 divided by 4 is 6, so I write that right below it. 36 divided by 4 is 9. I write that below it. Then you look and see, is there something you can divide out of 6 and 9? You can divide out a 3, so I box it and divide out that 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. Then you look, is there a number you can divide out of 2 and 3 evenly? The answer is no, so you're done. So to find the GCF, you take these outside numbers and you multiply them. So the GCF of 24 and 36 is 12. You use that number by dividing out that GCF. Once you divide that out, you're going to be fully simplified. 24 divided by 12 is 2, and 36 divided by 12 is 3. So it's 2/3 simplified. Now what do you notice about that cake method? If you said those are the same numbers, you're right. Pretty cool. You can use that bottom layer to make your fraction. As long as you are fully simplified, your fraction will be fully simplified. Now, chances are this is not how you learned how to simplify a fraction. That's okay. Let's talk about some of those other tricks. You could divide out a number you know is a factor of both. Remember those divisibility rules. You know you can divide out a 2 if it's even. You can divide out a 3 if you find the sum, and you can divide a 3 out of the sum. And you can divide out a 5 if it ends in a 0 or 5. You continue until it's fully simplified. Now, one thing to keep in mind. If you have a number such as 7 over 28, you can't divide a 2, 3, or 5 out of both those numbers, but it's not fully simplified. You must look to make sure that you cannot divide out another number, such as 7. In this case, it would be 1/4. Now, let's try that trick on 24 over 36. Let's just continuously divide out numbers until it's fully simplified. Now, I know I can divide out a 2 from both of these. 24 divided by 2 is 12. 36 divided by 2 is 18. Next, we can continue to divide out a 2 to get 6 over 9. And finally, we can divide out a 3 to get 2/3. Notice, we got the same answer. In both methods, you are just repeatedly dividing out. It just looks a little bit different, and the steps are a little bit different. Use whichever method makes the most sense to you. If you like the cake method, use that method. If you like to repeatedly divide out, go ahead and use that method. If you want to find that GCF and divide out, that's fine as well. Again, whatever makes most sense to you should be what you do. Now for this video, I'm going to do all of mine using the cake method. If you choose to use a different method, just go ahead and watch it, and if you get a different answer, you can always ask your teacher for help. So let's use the cake method on 36 over 42. We write down 36 and 42. You can divide out a 2 from both of those. If you don't know what 36 divided by 2 is, you can always do long division. 2 goes into 3 one time. 1 times 2 is 2. We subtract off that 2 to get 1 and bring down that 6. 2 goes into 16 8 times perfectly. So we can write down that 18. And 42 divided by 2 is 21. 18 and 21 are both divisible by 3, so we write the 3 on the outside. 18 divided by 3 is 6, and 21 divided by 3 is 7. You cannot divide anything else out of 6 and 7, so we're done. Just write 6 over 7, and there's your simplified fraction. Let's try it on 25 over 35. We start off with our first layer of cake, and you can see we can divide a 5 out of both. 25 divided by 5 is 5, and 35 divided by 5 is 7. You cannot reduce that any farther, so our final answer is 5 over 7. 7 over 21. I can divide a 7 out of both 7 and 21. 7 divided by 7 is 1, and 21 divided by 7 is 3. So our final answer is 1/3. Anytime you see a 0 at the end in the numerator and a 0 at the end in the denominator, we know we can divide out a 10 from both of those. So we can just cross those off and it becomes 6 over 8, because 60 divided by 10 is 6 and 80 divided by 10 is 8. So we have 6 and 8. I can divide a 2 out of both of those. 6 divided by 2 is 3 and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So our final answer is 3 over 4. I want you to try to do the following 6 on your own. When you're done, go ahead and hit play and we'll see how you did. Now that you try them on your own, let's see how you did. So we've got 16 and 20. You can divide a 2 out of both to get 8 and 10. The cake continues because both can be divided by 2 again to get 4 and 5. Our simplified fraction is 4/5. On this next one, we have 27 and 36. You can divide a 3 out of both. 27 divided by 3 is 9, and 36 divided by 3 is 12. You can divide a 3 out of both 9 and 12 to get 3 and 4. Your final answer should be 3/4. If you saw out of 27 and 36 that you could divide a 9 out, go ahead and do that. I just chose to do 3 twice. On this next one, I hope you saw that you could take those zeros and cross them off to have 10 over 12. If you have 10 over 12, you can divide 2 out of both of those to get 5 and 6. Nothing else comes from 5 and 6, so we have 5/6. On this next one, we have 44 and 48. You can divide a 2 out of both. So 2 goes into 44, 22 times, and 48 divided by 2 is 24. We can keep it going to divide another 2 out. 22 divided by 2 is 11, and 24 divided by 2 is 12. Nothing else comes from 11 and 12, so it is 11 over 12. There is nothing you can divide out of 11 and 12. So 11 over 12 is already simplified. So you can say that. Already simplified. On this last problem, we have 64 over 72. You can divide a 2 out of both. 64 divided by 2 is 32, and 72 divided by 2 is 36. You can divide out a 2 again. 32 divided by 2 is 16, and 36 divided by 2 is 18. We end up with 16 divided by 2, which is 8, and 18 divided by 2, which is 9. So our final answer is 8 over 9.